Welcome. Welcome. You are listening to audio from the table. If you'd like to learn more about our community or donate to this ministry, please visit thetabletx.com.
Grace and peace, Table Podcast listeners. Brett here. So glad to be with you all after a week away. So we are beginning a new series this week that's going to run for the next 5 weeks, all throughout the month of June, titled Holy Shift, a 21st Century Faith. And of course, the way you say that, holy shift, it kind of really changes the meaning. But in short, we're going to be looking at some cultural values and practices, things like digital technology, consumerism, hustle culture, that I believe are undermining our kind of capacity to really follow Christ, to live in the presence of God, and I mean, frankly, just to be like, sort of live, good lives, like meaningful, peaceful lives. So the way each message is going to be framed is as a shift, right? Away from one thing or practice or value toward another. So with that in mind, the title of my message this week is entertainment. And of course, every culture has always had its forms of entertainment. I can imagine even the most primitive early human communities gathering around a fire as a parent or some community elder, told a story. And for those 30 minutes or hour or whatever, everyone was imaginatively transported away from reality, away from this moment. They're gone, they're lost in their imaginations. And then when the story ended, they returned to life, to the world, to reality. So what's the difference between, them and us? Like, they had their forms of entertainment and we have ours. Right? They told stories around a fire. We perhaps watch stories on a screen, maybe even a very big screen. Well, you see, here's the difference. The difference is there's just a difference between a culture with entertainment and an entertainment culture. Right? In other words, there's a difference between being entertained for a portion or a slice of your day, your week, your life, and simply a life where if you're not working, you're finding a way to amuse yourself. So we'll do a message later on in this series devoted specifically to like digital culture and social media and all that. But let me just use Instagram and TikTok as like an example. So there's a difference between taking 15 minutes a day or, whatever, to like, I'm going to watch some entertaining videos, versus filling every moment of downtime with TikTok and Instagram, Reels or whatever. In other words, filling every moment of downtime with entertainment. Like, for example, I've noticed I'm very tempted to get on my phone, even when simply waiting 2.5 minutes for my car to fill up with gas. Like, I can't just stand there, just looking at the blue sky. Like, no, I gotta, get on my phone. Like, or even if I managed to avoid my phone at the gas pump, then at least they had us for a while. They've taken them away. I wonder if people complained. But like for a while, I think it was Walmart, where the gas pumps, like it had a screen. This little screen feeding you cartoonish commercials and talking to you, like, don't you want a Slurpee? Whatever. So like, even while pumping gas, we don't have to be bored. There's always entertainment to be found. I can even imagine kind of the difference between like, previous generations who were so desperate for entertainment, like between us and them. Like, so I have it on good authority that people used to go to the airport to watch planes take off. Like, they weren't there for their own flight. No. They were there to watch others get on a plane and fly away. Just like, look, there it goes. Lift it off. Wow. And this is like, what are you going to do? Sunday afternoon after church, or we're going to watch some planes take off. Like, oh, friends, how far we've come. I mean, that's how desperate people were for entertainment. So again, there's just a difference between a culture with entertainment, which of course has always been true, that every culture has its forms of entertainment. There's a difference between that and an entertainment culture, a culture grounded in entertainment. So what exactly, though, do I mean by like entertainment culture? Well, Neil Postman, in his wonderful book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, which is a great book title. If you want like a deep dive on this topic, you can get that book. But Postman, he named that, like, in short, sort of like everything is competing for our attention because attention is dollars. So it's kind of a race to the bottom of your brain stem, right? To fear, to pleasure, to anything that like gets your attention. And so what happened is that entertainment went from being like a slice of life, a corner of life, to being life itself, to being like 50% of life, 40%, 60%. Like, so in essence, you go to work, but you work so that you can come home and be entertained, right? In short, to get attention, everything must now become entertaining. So what you get is even very, very deeply important cultural practices, practices that for millennia have not been in the realm of entertainment. Now they're succumbing to this culture of entertainment. So this is what Postman kind of charts. He points out that, like, for example, education, right? Education, I guess it used to be primarily about, just needing to educate people. And that often involved kind of just tasks that weren't necessarily very fun, but it was, a lot of kind of undistracted, just focused attention kind of stuff. But now, as each generation goes by, there's kind of a clamoring for like, hey, freaking entertain me. Make this entertaining, which is sort of different even than making it interesting. I get where, good teachers want to make things kind of interesting. But there's some line we cross from, I want to make this interesting and engaging for people, to this kind of, hey, don't make me read a book. Just give me the footnotes, or the cliff notes, and just entertain me. Keep this moving, Or politics. I mentioned this in a sermon a few years back, how, like, just think of how politics has changed. Like, back in the day, they would publish in newspapers entire speeches, like thousands and thousands of words of just presidential, campaign speeches. Now, like, we're not going to elect some politician with super well thought out ideas on foreign policy or economic development, or like, no, we're going to elect someone who can give us a show. Someone who can grab our attention and make us believe that they know what they're doing, even though they don't, right? The election cycle, basically, it's just good reality television. And I mean, this is where you get like a move from Hollywood, actors and actresses and such, like, kind of entering politics, because that's kind of what it takes. Or reality television stars becoming president, because that's what it freaking takes in this kind of age of entertainment, this culture of entertainment. And of course, it's the same with journalism. And it's the same in the arts. They feel this pressure to become, we got to entertain, because that's the whole culture is geared towards entertain, or else you can't get anyone's attention and you go out of business, And of course, what's true for all of these, education and politics and journalism and the arts, and it's also true with religion. Like, just take a moment, contemplate, how have churches changed in the last 50 years in response to entertainment culture? Right? What happened? There was a sense of change or die. In fact, it occurs to me that, like, my guess is most people listening to this think that the table is primarily competing with other churches for your attention, your attendance, your engagement. No. Like, in 1956, that was probably true. Not so much today. Now, who is the table competing with, in a sense? We're competing with Netflix and restaurants In sporting events, right? Mavericks playoff run, Stars playoff run. There's a never-ending supply of 1,000 amusements, and we're just so, distracted. So, like, how on earth do we even start to resist this? Like, truth be told, it is very difficult. The writer David Foster Wallace, in an interview, he summed the problem really well. He said, if fighting against entertainment is even required, how does one do it unless, well, there are two options. One is you direct the attack only to people who are willing to listen to the complexity. But those aren't the people who are enslaved by entertainment anyway. Or you find some way to make the attack on entertainment entertaining, in which case you've been captured by the very thing you're fighting against. Lord have mercy. So, I feel this all the time as a pastor, like, how do we fight this? So seriously, what do we do? Well, I think part of the way forward is we've got to discern the problem with entertainment. And again, not just being entertained for 15 minutes a day, or, but this kind of culture of entertainment. And again, David Foster Wallace puts it really well. He says this: part of the allure of drugs and entertainment is escape. Yes? It's escape. Like, that's the problem. You say, escape from what? From everything we've been avoiding. Like, sometimes it can be, practical tasks and situations we need to deal with. But often it's just escape from feelings and memories. It's escape from anxiety and depression and grief. And so to come out of entertainment culture is, honestly, it's as fundamental as the art of learning to live again. And this is why I think people honestly have very confused ideas about religion and Christianity. I think they think it's all about going to heaven when you die. I totally disagree. Christian spirituality is not about teaching us how to live in heaven after we die, but how to live with our feet planted firmly upon the earth and our minds dwelling deeply in the here and now. In other words, I think the way out of entertainment culture is actually through, in a sense of, like, if you think of drugs or drinking to excess or binge watching TV, that's a sort of like a temporary out. It's escape, but the problem is, of course, it's momentary, temporary, right? That's the problem. The high always ends, the distraction always runs its course, and then you're back to you and your feelings and your life. But there comes a day when you're willing to go through, when you're willing to face into things, and when you say, you know what, no more. I am done running from reality. God, I want to come home to my life, home to my family, to my world. That there comes a moment where you're ready to exit the kingdom of noise and stupid pleasure and endless, mindless entertainment, where you desperately numb out for hours on end, and you're ready to come home, to return. We'd say, return to what? To who? To your life, to God. A really helpful word I found here is awareness. The Desert Fathers and Mothers would have called it watchfulness or attentiveness. Awareness is so simple, but it's unbelievably deep and profound because it goes all the way to the mystery of consciousness, right? To practice awareness, I want you to take a moment and simply be present to whatever space you're in. If you're in a room, if you're in a car, just be present. Like, tune in to the space around you. But do it without thought, without analysis or judgment. Simply in the silence of your mind, be aware. See, that's the first step towards not just believing in Christ, but actually coming into the presence of Christ. That's the first step towards an abundant life, which makes sense because you actually have to show up for life. Here's a few quotes from the Desert Fathers and Mothers on this. And I want you to notice that when they use the word watchful or attentive, just think to yourself, awareness. They wrote this: attentiveness is the heart's stillness, unbroken by any thought. In this stillness, the heart breathes and invokes endlessly and without ceasing only Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God and is himself God. I love that opening. Attentiveness is the heart's stillness. When they say heart here, they don't literally mean like the beating place, the beating organ in your chest. They mean like it's the deep parts of the mind. Attentiveness is the heart's stillness, unbroken by any thought. Just there, aware. In that stillness, you start to commune with God. Another quote: watchfulness is a continual fixing and halting of thought at the entrance to the heart. When it says a halting of thought, it doesn't mean you go brain dead or something. It means self-referential thought. This ongoing inner narrative, blah, 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 blah. Why is that? Why is it going this way? I don't want to do this. Why did she look at me in that way? And I wish I had a better job. And then I want this. And I need a new car. It's that continue that just inner dialogue, self-referential thought. So it's watchfulness, awareness is this kind of fixation of the attention, and it's a quieting of the mind. Another quote: be watchful as you travel each day the narrow but joyous and exhilarating road of the mind, humbly in your heart. Another way of understanding awareness is to talk about its opposite, forgetfulness. I'm going to give you 3 more quotes all on forgetfulness, which this can make sense because I think maybe we're like, I don't totally know what you mean by awareness, but I think we know what happens or what it's like to be forgetful. So here's another quote: we should shun loose speech like an asp's venom, and too much company like a progeny of vipers. Matthew 3:7. For it can plunge us into total forgetfulness of the inner struggle and bring the soul down from the heights of the joy that purity of heart gives. Second quote: this accursed forgetfulness is as opposed to attentiveness as water to fire, and forcibly fights against it all the time. Do you know that fight? That inner fight where you want to be present, you want to be aware, but it's like your mind just keeps drifting, just seeking distraction, seeking entertainment. Final quote: forgetfulness leads to negligence, and negligence to indifference, laziness, and unnatural desire. In this way, we return to where we started, like a dog to his own vomit. 2 Peter 2:22. You see, this forgetfulness, I think we know it well, don't we? It's mind wandering, it's ruminating, it's checking out, it's self-referential thought, it's numbing. Like anytime I'm doing something I will later regret, I am inevitably in a forgetful state, so to speak, right? But step 1 of following Christ, it begins with awareness. As the psalmist writes, one thing I have asked from the Lord, and that I shall seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to meditate in his temple. See, here's the good news. I believe we can live that every day. And we don't have to journey to the temple in Jerusalem or even into this church sanctuary or something, to do that. No, anytime we live in awareness, we are beholding the beauty of the Lord, the beauty of creation, the beauty of God in and through the people around us. I love that word, behold. It's mentioned something like 1,700 times or more in the Bible. It's a very contemplative word. When I am beholding, I am not anxious. When I am beholding, I am not worried or stressed or afraid or uneasy or ruminating. I am deeply present. That's the shift we need. So friends, I want to invite you back to your life, back to good food and people and a walk in the woods and a good book and the silence of church. I want to invite you into this holy shift from entertainment to awareness, back to the sacred life God has given you. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.